I'm James.
I'm Carrie. I'm Lacey.
And I'm Lee, just one more fix.
A proud member of the Gonna Geek Network.
Just like the show you're listening to now.
The opinions expressed are those of each individual host.
Check out all the other podcasts at GonnaGeekNetwork.com.
And get ready, because geekiness begins in 3, 2, 1.
This is it. The part of your week where you get to put your headphones on, relax, and listen to a bunch of geeks geek out about geeky things. They're passionate.
As a Canadian, I will say that more than likely, I'm just going to get screwed another way. That's the way it always works.
They're knowledgeable.
Maybe that's where life began, on MU-69. We don't know.
And sometimes they're a bit angry.
Skype, I'm breaking up with you. It's not me, it's totally you.
Gonna Geek Productions presents the official GonnaGeek.com show.
Hello and welcome to episode 212. That's 212 of the official GonnaGeek.com show. I am Stephen John Drew, and with me, of course, is Chris Farrell.
I'm Batman?
We also have the one who is doing all sorts of extra work tonight, Stargate Pioneer.
Yes, I am SP, and I'm the one flipping some of the switches tonight, I think. Yeah, I think that's the way we're doing it. Some of the switches.
Nobody ever flips switches ever at any time. You know, nobody puts SP in the corner.
Nobody.
Everybody puts SP in the corner because I'm the monkey.
Yes, we are back with your favorite podcast titled the GonnaGeek.com official podcast. That's it. We're your favorite one. There's the real deal. You don't want to go ahead and look elsewhere because this is the only one. When you're looking for a podcast called the official GonnaGeek.com show, that's where you want to go.
It's
right
true.
Here. Mm-hmm.
This is the only one.
Yes. So if you haven't checked this out before, we talk about the latest geeky happenings. Today, we are going to run down a plethora of topics, and there might even be a fun little, should we say rant to kick us off? Should we kick it off?
Ooh.
I want to hear this rant.
All right, let's kick it off. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. This is something that is probably long overdue for me to take care of. You see, those of you who haven't watched the show before might not know this about me, but I am personally a massive Apple fanboy. Like, this is something that I am like the biggest Apple fanboy in the world,
true.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, you know, the only reason I have 5 Apple devices right in front of me is because Steven is such the Apple fanboy. He says, SP, you gotta use this Apple stuff.
Yeah, so this is something that I'm just telling you this because I do actually, though, use a Windows computer still. So I just want you to know that I have a ton of other Apple devices. So I guess maybe my rant is a little bit influenced, but okay, that's all a joke. I don't use really anything Apple, and I'm just making the point that I am not an Apple fanboy hating on Windows. Because I'm about to hate on Windows, okay? So Windows 10 is like one of the most interesting updates that have ever come to Windows. Like, let's be totally honest here. For those of us who really liked Windows 8, we saw Windows 10 come along, and they were offering free upgrades, so it's like, okay, that's kind of neat, but it looks like they just kind of took the 8 features and added in a little bit of 7 stuff so that we can get everybody on board, but I kind of really like 8 because it's stable. Well, as we all know, Windows 10 has had some interesting ups and downs, and we talked a few weeks ago about how they were going to be doing another creators update. That's right. This is what they do is now they put out big packs. They're essentially big milestones called the creators update just a couple times a year. Well, this one just came out a few weeks ago, and last week I decided to put it on my computer. As you can imagine, things went so smooth. There was no problems at all. It was sunshine and roses. You know the guy who jumps and frolics through the fields on the Viagra commercials? That was me after the creators update.
No, that was because you took Viagra.
Okay, fair point. But after that, I still was jumping and frolicking through the fields because it was just amazing. So that's why I'm ranting today about how actually that didn't happen at all. And yeah, I got to say that this is getting really...
You didn't take the Viagra or it didn't go smooth? I'm confused.
Okay, sorry. I took the Viagra. It didn't go smooth.
Or was it Cialis and you found yourself not frolicking in a field, but in a bathtub in a field, just all by yourself?
No, it was Viagra. I took it. It worked okay. And eventually I got told numerous times, put that thing away. So anywho, long story short, the Windows update was terrible. It is getting so frustrating for me. I am sick and tired of installing their update pack only to have a bunch of stuff reset. I don't understand why Microsoft thinks that it's their right to go in and reset that. I haven't seen any clear options where I can turn that off. I'm not saying they're not there, but I'm saying as a user who pays attention to things, I have not seen where I can go and shut that off because, as usual, I put through this stupid creators update and it reset my personal preferences, all my defaults, all of the default context menus. You know how you go and you go right click open with, and once you open something in there, it'll give you an option. Like for example, one of the options that you get on my computer when I right click and I go open with on an MP4 is the media player classic. I have a few different media players on there for a variety of reasons, and that was cleared out. And of course, everything was back to their default stupid programs that come with Windows 10. So as if that wouldn't frustrate me enough, I today decided to do the overlay for this very show. Like if you ever have watched the video side of things, you will see that on the side of the video, there is a little bar that tells you where we are within the show so that you can follow along and you can say, okay, I tuned out Steven. Let's see, is he still talking? Nope, he's moved on. So I went to open my template today, which I do in Affinity Photo. I talked about that in a previous review, and it showed that fonts were missing. Now, here's the thing is I didn't back up the fonts folders because I back up a lot of the other stuff and totally dropped the ball and forgot about backing up the fonts folder. So luckily, I still have kicking around my Windows 8 install, which I barely use, but is there because, you know, of the numerous Windows 10 problems that I've had over the last 2, 3, whatever, however many years, because, you know, every now and then it just breaks. So I still had that there. And sure, what do you know? I copy that folder into my fonts and a bunch of fonts install. Now, there were many fonts that were still on my Windows 10 install, but there were multiple ones that were missing, all because of that creators update. As soon as I copied those in, what do you know? The template worked fine. And it's just so irritating because, like, why, Microsoft, do you think you should go in and delete my expletive stuff? Like, I don't understand that. It's not your right to delete my stuff. And you should make an option that I can shut that off. It is arrogant, it is annoying, and it is reasons like this that makes me want to just say, you know what? Until they end of life it, I just want to use 8.1.
Steven, if this was a Google OS, you'd be all over it. You'd be like, oh, that's okay. They know what's best for me. I'm fine with it. I'll just deal with it. Everything would be fine because you're such a Google fanboy.
That's not true at all. In fact, I believe I have ranted a couple of times about Google, but you know, it is what it is. Chris, you're shaking your head.
I just don't know how we got to Google in all of this. It's not like we can do good video production work on a Chromebook.
That's true. It really frustrates me that they keep resetting my stuff every time they do one of these creators updates. Like, give me the option to turn it off. And if the option is there, make it obvious. I don't understand it. It's so irritating and really frustrating to me. And I am a diehard Windows user. So I had to rant.
Do you even know how to use a Mac?
I do. I've used it a couple of times.
Throw it out the window.
Great answer, Chris. Great answer. If I had my bell, I would ring it right now. Ding, 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 ding.
But it's such a marvelous piece of machinery that it would survive the toss and the fall, and more importantly, the stop at the end of the fall.
I don't know about that.
Okay, so let me ask Chris Farrell. Chris, I know that you also are equally as much in love with Apple as I am, so your opinion might also be tainted. But no, you do some advanced stuff as well with your machine. I want to know, did you do the creators update?
I have been deferring an update on Windows for the last 2 months, so no, I did not.
Yeah. In the chat, by the way, we do have Dane saying that Windows 10 is free. It's not. It was a free update. You can still get around it. The upgrade is free. It's technically purchasable, but in any case, even if it was free, I would still say that this is complete horse manure. Sorry, I'm really trying not to have to edit myself out. Complete bull.
So what Steven's saying is it's absolute horse.
Yeah, I just frustrates me. SP, you've had a few problems with updates breaking things before. What's your thoughts on the latest creators update?
I don't even know if it's running on my system or not. I was just into my update history and it said I have an update that was installed on October 17th. And that was a security update for Adobe Flash Player. Yay. There's a couple of cumulative. I don't think I've got the creators update on here yet. There's a cumulative update on September 13th and another cumulative update on October 10th. Well, maybe?
Well, why I did this update, it actually, I think you would know. I think you have to go through and it's one of the ones that you actually have to select that you want to go through with it. But reason this came up for me was because I was refreshing to see if there was, like, if I'd missed the patch for the whole crack thing that we talked about last week. So then this came up as an update available for me. So I just did it. You know, given that I was going away and everything, I figured why not put a major update on my computer before I'm out of town.
So why are you blaming Microsoft? This is all on you.
It's not all on me because everything else seems to be working right now, but they deleted my stuff. It's annoying. It's Microsoft. It's wrong. They shouldn't delete my fonts. And this isn't the first time this has happened and fonts have gone missing with one of these updates. And I just say shame on you, Microsoft. Shame on you. You should be embarrassed. It's the only thing you have going. You can't even build a mobile platform that works well. And here, you still got this loyal consumer base. There's a reason why corporate America has not adopted Windows 10 yet, because you can't do it right. Anyways.
My Office PCs are Windows 10.
As long as I have my Comic Sans font, I'm fine. What I can't stand is Apple taking away my ringtones that I've had for frickin' 4 years.
Yeah, you know what's good right here? I just drop an MP3 in the ringtones folder on my phone and problem solved.
Maybe what we should do is we should all go to BlackBerry and DOS. That's what we should do.
Ugh.
Which version of DOS?
It doesn't matter.
Let's just go to the Nokia OS. What was it?
Or that Samsung one. What was that Samsung one? Anyways, I had to...
Palm OS.
Yes, Tizen. That was the one I was thinking of. But I had to rant. So if you want to go ahead and get your rants in, please do get in touch with us through any of the ways. You can find us at twitter.com/GonnaGeek, facebook.com/GonnaGeek, or just go ahead and email podcast@GonnaGeek.com. If you want to go ahead and rant on the voicemail, it's 567-343-4335. That's 567-343-4335. Please feel free to just tell us how much you love Uncle Bill Gates.
I do. He's giving away free money. I get emails about it every day.
And you click on the links, right?
Of course I do.
That might explain why your Windows breaks. What would I do? Delete.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and move on to our news. Here we go. Okay. So there is a certain interesting thing that we discovered over the weekend, and by we I mean Chris, and by discovered I mean he read it on an article that was probably on Ars Technica or something, right, Chris?
It was on Android Central, thank you very much. So I was able to confirm some of it for myself on this, but if you aren't aware, we love phones and we love gadgets here on the GonnaGeek.com show. In fact, we even spent a segment a while back about if I had to upgrade tomorrow, here's the phone I'd be getting. And we talked about the Google Pixel 2 XL as one of the phones that was kind of on our radar. And if you weren't aware, the Pixel 2 XL did come out last week. It's the larger of the Pixels. It's got a slightly curved OLED display in it. Yeah, there's some problems with that OLED display, and Google's taken a little bit of abuse for it. So what are the problems, you might be asking? Let's start with the simpler one, which is it's got a very blue tint to it. Unless you're looking at it straight on, if you tilt the phone a little bit, everything kind of shifts to a little bit of a blue color. is slightly odd. I did see it myself when I went to a Verizon store locally just to get a hands-on time with the Pixel 2 XL. I noticed it, but it seems to vary. Going around the Pixel Reddit threads, there's screenshots people have captured where some people's phones have more of a blue tint than others, so maybe some kind of production issue with the OLED displays. They are not using the Samsung OLED displays, they're using LG OLED displays. Remember, Samsung's the industry leader right now, so maybe that's part of the problem. But the bigger display issue, Android Central reported late last night, is that, yeah, if you're familiar with OLED screens, there's a thing called burn-in that can happen, because when you're running an OLED screen, you're basically turning individual pixels off and on, and eventually you get to the point where some have been used a little bit more than others, and they don't get quite as dark anymore, and things like that. So burn-in is a problem. It's something you'll generally see in a phone after about a year or so. My Android Wear watch, I have a Huawei watch, and I also have a LG watch that both use OLED displays. I've seen a little bit of hints of burn-in beginning. Yeah, there's users that have posted photos in sites like Android Central and the like that have had burn-in on their new Pixel 2 XLs in less than 7 days.
Wow.
That's not good, guys. Burn-in is expected on OLED screens. Anyone who moves to OLED knows it's a possibility. Google says how they're getting around it is they're moving things around by a couple pixels every few minutes on the phone to keep all of your pixels from burning in. But it is a problem. And how do you see it for yourself? Basically put a gray image on the screen and you can see where the navigation bar is on the Pixel 2 XL. You can see portions of the pixels where the back, home, and recent buttons go that are off color compared to everything else because the display has already started to burn in a little bit. So Android Central did reach out to Google. A spokesman replied, but it's kind of a canned response. Here was their response, quote, "The Pixel 2 XL screen has been designed with advanced POLED technology, including QHD plus resolution, wide color gamut, and high contrast ratio for natural, beautiful colors and renderings. We put all of our products through extensive quality testing before launch in the manufacturing review unit. We are actively investigating this report." Yet you don't have to investigate. Go to the Google Pixel Reddit thread, go on Twitter, go to some of the Android phone blogs and things like that. It's a problem. It should not be burning in 7 days. That's absolutely insane.
Might have something to do with either holding it wrong or not having the right bumper on it.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. So here's the thing. If you are seeing burn in on your Pixel 2, one thing to consider is you got 30 days to return it after you get it. So if you can't live with it, return it, get your money back. Your warranty also covers this. So you have a 1-year warranty by default when you buy the phone. You can RMA the thing. You can be like, hey, my phone's got burn in, and they will fix it. They did do that on some of the 2016 Pixels that had an issue. There's a lot of rumors floating around that Google is going to end up doing a recall of this initial batch of things, is what people are trying to say. And they're going to put out newer versions, and the newer versions of the screens aren't as susceptible to the blue shift and the burn-in. But it sounds almost like they had an issue with the LG OLED displays, which means Apple was probably pretty smart when they went with the Samsung OLED screens for the iPhone X.
I didn't realize that it was covered on the first generation, and you can assume why I'm very frustrated about that.
Have you had your phone for a year yet?
Yeah, I have. I've had it for over a year. I think I got it in like September, but
then you're hosed.
I should check that. I'd be pretty close. I'm going to check that, but yeah, no, it definitely happened with mine for sure. It's there. I don't think that my extended warranty would cover it. I'd have to check, but I don't think that the extended does in any case.
If you have an extended warranty through Google, it does. It depends on who it's through.
It's not through Google because I bought it through my carrier because I'm a sucker. I'm a sucker like that.
Well, you can try and fight it. One thing of note, don't go on the Google Play Store and start downloading those apps that say they're going to fix burn-in. That's not going to do a damn thing. If anything, it's just going to exacerbate the problem because all it does is invert the colors on your display to try and balance out the burn-in of the pixels. No, it doesn't do anything. Do not do that. You're just going to make things worse. If you can't live with it, like I said, return it or RMA or use a warranty replacement and get it replaced.
Yeah, I will say that 7 days is ridiculous, and I hope that I hope that they've got a solution to it. But my guess is it's going to be all of them,
and it's only on the XL model because that's from what I read, and I might have read wrong, but from what I could tell, only the Google Pixel 2 XL has the LG display. Supposedly, the Pixel 2 regular size is a Samsung display.
Well, if you increase the brightness all the way, you shake the phone really hard and you take it into space and you bring it back so it rotates around the Earth several hundred times within 7 days, I think that would override the mileage warranty on the phone and thus explain the burn-in.
Right.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
Yeah, that makes sense. You know, you gotta say, though, I don't see any iPhones doing this.
Well, you'll see it with an OLED screen. This is the first iPhone coming up that has an OLED screen.
You don't have an iPhone X out there yet.
I was just being a troll. That's all.
The problem is anything with an OLED screen is susceptible to burn in. It's just a matter of time. But I did have to laugh because the timing on this is very interesting because late last night, all this stuff comes out about the burn in on the Pixel 2 XL. Are you guys familiar with the Android phone company called Essential, headed up by Andy Rubin, who's one of the founders of Android?
No, I'm not familiar with this at all, even though I considered buying one.
So for those that aren't, real quick, this is Andy Rubin's one of the founders of Android. He helped design it. This is his company that basically wanted to put out a basically stock version of an Android phone made of premium materials that was durable, pretty much everything unlocked that you could do. It's made out of like ceramic and titanium and Gorilla Glass 5, so it's heavy duty. Well, they dropped their phone about 2 months ago. It was $799. Price point was ridiculous, or $699, excuse me. Well, last night when I was reading up all this stuff about the Pixel issues, I see a bunch of folks posting on there, well, I'm just going to go buy an Essential phone because I guess last night Essential dropped the price $200. So now you can basically get a flagship level phone with a Snapdragon 835 processor, incredibly durable, sweet looking phone for a mid phone level price. It's an interesting play. And now why did they do that? Well, because supposedly they've only sold 5,000 phones in the last 2 months. Get that? 5,000.
The Essential phone is an interesting one. I'm not totally sold that their updatable future is all that great. However, I'm sure for the next year or so they'll be okay because they're going to try to continue pushing, like making their mark. So I'm sure it'll be okay for a bit. I think it's a nice phone though, and I would absolutely encourage anybody who's thinking about buying it to buy it so that you can tell me all about it.
Yeah. And as a side note, they have a boatload of venture capital money that has come in based off the fact that Andy Rubin is heading up that company. So I don't think you have to worry about them becoming financially insolvent in the next year or two. But anything past that, I would not expect much in the way of support.
You know what would have made me buy the Essential phone? A 3.5 millimeter audio jack.
I'll just let it go. Let it go. It is gone. Give it another couple of years. They will be gone. They don't exist anymore.
We lost the battle and the war, SP. We lost them both.
I guess. I've got 5 iOS devices in front of me. One does not have a 3.5 millimeter jack, and unfortunately, that's the phone I'm using right now.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next news point here, which is one that I gotta say is pretty darn cool because it's all about Canada. Now, Canada is okay. They might just be a little bit obsessed with hockey. I've heard of this country. I hear that they're a little bit obsessed with hockey and moose and all these other things as well.
I thought it was curling instead of hockey.
It's both. Allegedly, I don't know I don't know anything about Canada, but they actually have a secret organization within the government, like any good government does. They've got the little factions. Section 31, for
Illuminati.
example. It's more Section 31. It really is.
I see. Star Trek TNG to the win.
DS9.
Yeah, I know. I get it.
Yeah.
Enterprise.
Yeah, DS9. Just going to correct you. DS9.
Voyager.
Discovery. Are we just naming Star Treks now? Okay.
The animated series.
Oh, good one.
Good one. So the Canadian Communication Security Establishment, known as the most secretive of Canada's spy agencies, released some source code this past week. They received it for a program called Assembly Line, which is essentially known as a Swiss Army knife for malware analysis. It rolls up several malware analysis tools into a single unit, and apparently it can scan for malware and also assign a score that indicates the likeliness that the file had a previous unforeseen form of malware. So that's kind of a neat tool because it's a whole bunch of investigative information if you're looking for malware, and it's kind of neat that it is this quote Swiss Army knife. So apparently now that this is source code, it's going to go out, and of course people are going to take it and use it for all sorts of good. And I'm sure it will never be used for bad. I'm sure that nobody will analyze it and go, oh, well, I could get around it by doing this. I'm sure that will not happen at all because, let's be honest, everybody is good in the world.
That's true.
I think Skynet is already in there.
I do. I honestly, though, wanted to put this in here because I think that that's neat. We've been talking about some malware and things like that lately, and I think that this is neat to see a government organization that is a secret government organization releasing some tools to hopefully help the general public. I obviously think that there is a chance that this is going to end up backfiring to a degree, but I'm sure they considered it. Or maybe somebody just bribed them with like a dozen Timbits or something.
Maple syrup, eh?
Well, it depends if it was a dozen of a particular kind or if it was a mixture of all the kinds of Timbits.
I like the mixture.
Timbits.
I just want to say, I don't see your country putting out malware tools for free.
Yeah, let's not get into that.
I think that's already occurred.
I don't see it happening. It's not happening right now. So there's another reason why Canada is the greatest country in the world.
If you want to live in an igloo.
With mooses.
All right, SP, you're going to educate us a little bit today on how Richard Branson has plans. Or is it Richard Branson?
You can call him whatever you want to. I don't know if he'll allow it if you talk to him in person, but we're talking about, yes, the Virgin Galactic owner, Richard Branson. And he got up in front of a CNBC Squawk Box interview. There was also a CNN interview. Basically, he was making the rounds last week, and he got up and, as the founder of Virgin Group, which includes the space flight company Virgin Galactic, said that he expects Virgin Galactic to send its first astronauts into space. And I did the air quotes there. In about 4 months. There's a reason I did air quotes around space, by the way. So Virgin Galactic spacecraft, the VSS Unity, remember the VSS Enterprise crashed a couple of years ago, must first successfully navigate a series of test flights before the craft can make its way into outer space. Well, that's pretty normal. Okay, got that. Due to the weight, and here's where the air quotes come in, due to the weight of the VSS Unity, flights will not go beyond the internationally recognized border of space, or the Kármán line, which sits about 100 kilometers or 62 miles in altitude. Instead, the flights will travel above the United States Air Force boundary of space, which is 80 kilometers or about 50 miles. During Richard Branson's chat on CNBC, Branson said, "Space needs a lot of companies doing different things to benefit the Earth back here. There is much humanity can learn from traveling and experimenting in space, but Branson believes his and Jeff Bezos' efforts over with Blue Origin are more likely to do that than Elon Musk with SpaceX." And as we've been talking about for a long time here, Elon Musk wants to go to Mars, right? He wants to go around the moon at the end of next year, and then he wants to go to Mars. So Elon Musk is head over heels ahead of these guys with SpaceX. But Branson's saying, "Hey guys, we're over here. We can still do stuff for you. Yay." Well, that is his point. To continue on with his quote, he says, "Elon is absolutely fixated on going to Mars, and I think it's his life mission. Jeff Bezos of Blue Origin and Amazon and ourselves at the Virgin Group are more interested in how we can use space to benefit the Earth. What can we do for the Earth today?" I gotta admit, he's got a few things here. We've talked about it before. I don't think, first of all, that going to Mars is going to be a two-way trip. I think when we send somebody, we're going to send somebody out there and they're going to stay out there. And it's going to be a drain on Earth's economy and our space industry to keep whoever that is alive. So it's
once they're there. We don't have to maintain them. Then it's on them.
Well, I've got another story, interestingly enough, on that a little bit later. But the point is that, yeah, I get what Richard Branson is saying, but I also don't get what he's saying about him being a benefit to space and the Earth, because all he is doing is a very technologically advanced roller coaster ride. He is going up and he's coming back down, and that is it. It is just shot up and you get 7 minutes of weightlessness or something like that, and you come back down. That is it. You can't put anything in orbit. You can't stay in space. You have to come back home. And I don't know about that. Now, Jeff Bezos, who owns Amazon and Blue Origin, he's got some stuff in the hopper, and there's other people that have stuff in the hopper too, like Lockheed and Boeing and so on and so forth. I don't know. Branson, it's like an amusement ride. I don't know if he's actually going to benefit humanity or the Earth by doing this, other than getting excitement going. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think Branson's got something going here, Chris?
I think it's a first step, because didn't they have that crash a couple of years back? Wasn't that Virgin that had the crash?
Yeah, that was VSS Enterprise. Yep.
Yeah. So I think what this does is get some positive press, gets people excited, and then it gets them towards a next step where they're not basically just recreating the vomit comet.
Yeah. I will say that if there's anybody that we should trust, it is 007. You said this was Pierce Brosnan's company, right?
Right.
That's who you said, right?
I said Richard Branson.
Okay, so Richard Gere. I gotcha. Gotcha.
Sir Richard Branson, I believe.
That is correct. He is knighted.
I actually, joking aside, I am interested on what they're going to do from the perspective that they were an early player, and now things have just stalled. And I'm a little bit concerned about that, because they really were one of the pioneers in the private sector, weren't they?
They were supposed to be up and running by now, but the crash in the VSS Enterprise really did them in. And matter of fact, in the interviews, because I watched them, he talked about it. He talked about how tough it was for the companies, how he went through pains to show the engineers and the people that were creating the VSS Enterprise that it wasn't your fault. The pilot literally threw the wrong switches. Now, I might take a little bit of issue with that and say, well, they didn't put in the safety factors in to prevent the pilot from throwing the wrong switches at the wrong time. But these pilots were very experienced test pilots. They should have known better. I get that. But Richard Branson made sure that the people that were creating the VSS Enterprise and the people that created the VSS Unity were absolutely guilt-free, and he wanted to press forward. So he did have like a 3-year hiatus because of that. He should already be operating, and he's not, which now puts him behind the 8 ball, because you've got SpaceX, you've got Boeing, you've got all these other companies that are getting closer to actually putting their space-rated capsules into space and be able to take space tours with them, like Elon Musk's planned trip around the moon at the end of next year.
Yeah. So I guess we'll see what happens. But in any case, I hope that they are successful. But I just feel like it's going to be really hard to bounce back when you're that far behind these other people.
Well, and to be honest, at the price point, you're talking about what is it, $150,000, $125,000, $150,000 US to go on that roller coaster ride. That's a lot more accessible to even movie stars than the millions of dollars it's going to take to actually get into deep space.
You gonna go?
Who says I'm not already there?
Yeah, I remember SNASA.
Bam. Good point.
Suncast let him come up to the moon base. That's all.
Well, as a good number one, he's protecting his captain, and he's not letting his captain get into danger. Yeah, that's what a good executive officer is supposed to do.
Is he your number one?
Sometimes number two.
Knew you were going to say it. All right, so moving on to the extra. Speaking of number two, at number one, we actually have season 2 of Star Trek Discovery. It has been announced today that the CBS is renewing Star Trek Discovery for a second season. Now, this comes on the heels of a lot of mixed feedback for this series. There's been a lot of criticisms. There's been a lot of people who have also said that it's been pretty good. I've been watching it every week. I will say that I feel like it's heading somewhere that we don't know yet, because they are definitely one of those big arcing stories. That's what they've done with Star Trek now, is quite a large arcing story with little stories in between, but there's a general big arc, and it's going somewhere, and there's all these clues. There's enough cool sort of callbacks and just sort of classic Star Trek things in there that keeps my attention. Yes, it deviates a lot as well, but I'm surprised to see season 2 already, given the rocky start it was to even get season 1 announced. I'm surprised. I guess they must be making pretty good bank off the international distribution from what I've seen. From what I personally have seen, like me personally, not a lot of people that I know are looking at getting CBS All Access, and so I'm very curious what the unauthorized rates are of this show. I feel like there's probably a lot of it within the US and Canada, but and they must be making good bank off of Netflix to do a season 2.
We knew it was going to happen. Unless the only way this show didn't get season 2 is if it was complete and utter trash, because it's like I said before, and like my main complaint is, it's built on the backs of saying, hey, Star Trek fans will pay this extra money to consume this series. We'll get them to buy our over-the-top service after we share the first episode on TV. So I still have heartburn over that. I still have my principled stand where I say, maybe in January, whenever the run's done, I'll get my week-long trial of CBS All Access and check it out. Or if they put the individual episodes for sale on Amazon or Google Play, I would do it that way. But I do not foresee it happening. So in all likelihood, I'm probably not going to see it. And while it looks pretty, all the reviews I've read have me go, it's Star Trek inspired. If I want real Trek right now, I'm going to go do Seth MacFarlane's Star Trek fanfic called The Orville.
Yeah, absolutely. They did a call out to Enterprise. They mentioned the Enterprise on this week's episode, so that was
Which one?
Interesting. They did. It was the first one, because they actually called it the, what the heck's the name of that class? I'm drawing a blank.
We're talking about the NX-01 or the Constitution class one?
Constitution, that's what they said. So they were talking about the Constitution class.
So the 1701.
Yeah, 1701. I don't know. It's been a fun ride for me each week, but it's definitely not for certain people. And I know lots of people who have fallen off. I very interested to see where it goes. I'm happy I'm watching it on a weekly basis, but would I pay for CBS All Access for it? No, I wouldn't. I'm in Canada, where I get to watch it on Space Channel because I get Space Channel. The other thing that I think will be interesting to see is if CBS holds their ground with the exclusive distribution in the States through CBS All Access, or if they will, after a little bit, go, okay, we got more money from Netflix, go ahead and drop it on Netflix.
Oh, no.
No, I see them keeping it at CBS All Access. As a matter of fact, that's probably why they greenlit a season 2, is they just want more content out there. So people like me will then go to CBS All Access. And I will say that if they do a successful season 3 and it ends successfully, and I don't hear a lot about qualms about how it ends, I might throw it into my bucket that I have with all new NBC, Fox, and sci-fi shows, that I might actually watch it. But I'm going to get CBS All Access for a month, a week. I'm going to mainline them, and then I'm going to get rid of it, because I'm not paying that continuously throughout the year or years. So CBS, you might get $10, $15, $20, whatever it is at that point in time in 2 years of my money. But that's it. You're not going to get every single month. Sorry,
yes.
It's not going to happen.
CBS, you're not Netflix, who's proven you've got a boatload of original content coming out each week that has me going, you know what? I don't mind paying my $13 a month to Netflix right now, because I know I can have a new comedy special every week, a new TV show every couple of weeks that I'm probably interested in to at least check out a few episodes. That they have built that up, and they have spent a lot of time to do that. And this is just CBS's first step towards becoming their own Netflix in this case.
Yeah. I'm very, very happy that I am in Canada. I'm very interested to see if they're going to, though, from Canada. What there is with Canada, it's released initially through the Space Channel, and then afterwards it goes to Netflix style streaming service called Crave TV that's up in Canada. I'm very curious to see if that's where it sticks long term, or if Netflix will get like the second run, so to speak, rights for it, just because we don't have CBS All Access. So time will tell, I guess. Speaking of telling things, SB, I hear that we want to try to tell more about the MH370, right? By the way, most fluid, smooth segue ever in all of history of shows. That was what that was. That was the most smooth segue.
Sure. So yeah, what we're talking about is the Malaysian airline MH370. It's been lost for quite a few years now. There was an extensive deep sea search to find it. Of course, parts have washed up on shore in the eastern part of Africa. So it's a pretty sure thing that this thing went down in the southern Indian Ocean, and we just haven't found it yet. So they revised the search area, but quite frankly, the people that pay for the search ran out of money. So this new company called Ocean Infinity, it's not a new company, but this US-based company, Ocean Infinity, is trying to make a deal to do a fee to find the MH370 in the new search area, which was defined. So basically, this company is going to take all the risk and go after the MH, or what's left of the MH370. This is important stuff to find the MH370, and even more important if we can bring back the black box intact and get some data off of it, because we still don't know what happened. If it was indeed a 777 cockpit fire that brought this down, that would be very important to know. After MH370 went down, there were several instances reported of cockpit wiring fires on board the Boeing 777. So if indeed this is the case, that would make Boeing have to do some changes to the cockpit wiring on board 777s. And it would also bring closure to all those families that don't know what happened to their people, and maybe even bring back some personal effects. I have no idea what the desire is for the families, if they just want to let it rest like a shipwreck graveyard, or if they want to bring back personal effects. I don't know what's going on with that. Ocean Infinity, I don't think, is on contract to bring anything back. I think it's only, and they're not on contract yet, by the way. I searched again today and there was no new news about it, but they're just being contracted to find it. And if they find it, they get paid. If they don't find it, they don't get paid.
I am always interested about this story, and I actually thought that we weren't going to get anything further. So I hope we do, for all the reasons that you said. The mystery to me still is one of the most intriguing things, because the pieces are washing up, but we just don't know exactly what happened, and we can't find it. It's like, I understand how big the world is, but it's just still mind-blowing to me that in the year 2000, and when was this, 2015, wasn't it? We can lose a plane, right?
Yeah, well, we couldn't find Oliver Queen for 5 years, so...
There's an easy way to find this. We just send the Sequest to go find it and problem solved.
Sequest or Sequest DSV?
Sequest DSV, excuse me.
Which captain behind the helm?
Bridger, of course.
Okay, there you go. Yes.
Is
Bridger,
there any other choice?
Well, yeah, there is, actually. Michael Ironside made a heck of a captain.
That's not a good choice. You always go Scheider.
All right. So you're telling me earlier today, Stargate Pioneer, that, or sorry, you like to be called SP. So you were telling me earlier today, Uncle SP, that apparently others will follow. Isn't that right?
That's right. I was saying before that if we send somebody to Mars, it's probably going to be a one-way trip. This is a fan-based film of the first, or one of the first, crews that we actually send to Mars, and the mission is not successful. So it's a story of their last transmission. If you haven't found this yet, this Martian missive, this Martian missive, you should go check it out. It's about 8 minutes. It's phenomenal. It actually goes through all of the transmissions back to Earth of like the Neil Armstrong landing on the moon, the Apollo 8 transmissions back from when they were going around the moon in Christmas 1968. And it goes through all those first sort of transmissions from space. And it gives this last transmission from the people from Mars. And the message is others will follow. So yeah, we're going to lose people going to Mars. We have already lost people just going to the moon and back. Actually, no, we didn't lose anybody going to the moon, but we lost people in the pursuit of going to the moon, like the Apollo 1 fire, and of course the space shuttle accidents afterwards. So yeah, space is a dangerous place, and that's why I think going to Mars is going to be a one-way trip in this particular case. They did actually reach the surface, so it's I won't give it all away. It is very unique what happens. I wouldn't have guessed what happens. So go ahead. I dropped the link in the chat, and hopefully Steven will put it in the show notes, and then you can go ahead and watch it.
I make no promises. You were talking about how it was Apollo 31 that went around the moon on Christmas. Is that what you were saying?
Apollo 8.
Okay,
around the moon,
Apollo 8.
Christmas,
Okay,
1968.
Okay, so I know you said you weren't going to ruin anything, but let's just say that perhaps Santa found the spirit of Christmas that year.
I think that was part of their transmission back. I mean, they read a Bible verse is what happened, but yeah, there was Santa involved.
Yeah, that's how we ended up. Just say that allegedly since then, nobody actually has seen Santa. Not saying that we took Santa and we ended up putting him on the moon.
I see Santa every year, man.
I saw Tim Allen on TV yesterday. What are you talking about? I saw Santa.
I saw him on TV tonight.
No matter how hard we try, Santa, he says he's not going to come if we stay up. We got to go to sleep so he can come on Christmas, and we haven't seen him. So is he really at the North Pole anymore, or did we end up giving him a secret installation on the moon because we just got too good at traveling the world that he's like, yeah, this isn't good enough, so I need to be in a more secret location. So he went to the moon.
Stephen, on Christmas Eve, I will give you access to all the camera feeds that I have placed in your house, so you will successfully see Santa in your house.
Well, yeah, he comes back. He comes back for Christmas, but instead of going back to the North Pole, he now goes to the moon.
I like to think there's a Stargate at the North Pole and he just goes to another planet to build toys.
Stargate's at the South Pole.
Wait, are you saying that Matt Damon is Santa?
Yes, no. That's exactly what we're saying.
George Clooney is Santa.
All right, well, that's going to go ahead and finish our news. Should we do a Steven's Geeky Stuff, or should we just be like, you know what, we don't want to hear from Steven?
I would prefer not to, but I'll leave it up to the chat room.
I'm not the producer. I don't.
There's something that has Steven's attention. So much so that he's itching to talk to you about it. What is this something? You're about to find out. This is Steven's Geeky Stuff.
Yeah, I totally played off Chris. Yeah, that's what I did. I played him off. Played him off!
I was about to flip you the bird.
I got some rash that I'm itching, but I don't think it's from Steven's Geeky Stuff.
Oh, God. Don't even put that image in our mind. All right, so today I'm talking about something called TrackR. That's right. Every now and then, Stargate Pioneer says, Steven, I need to track you. So could you do me a favor? And could you take this little silver tag, put it around your neck, and just walk around with it? Make sure you got your phone in proximity because I always want to know where you're at. That's what Stargate Pioneer does.
Makes sense.
It's all right. I geotagged you from orbit, so we're all right.
Okay, so the world of Bluetooth trackers, it's a very interesting thing right now. There's a whole bunch of them on the market. And the idea is that they're just little devices that use small batteries. And over Bluetooth, they connect to your phone so that if you lose something, you can go ahead and ring it. I've been interested in these for a little while, just because I thought it might be something handy to have, maybe throw on my keys or whatever. And so a while back, a 3-pack of the trackers came on sale. So I decided to buy it because it was really cheap. It was stupidly cheap. So I decided to buy them, and I have since had them kicking around. And it was actually shortly before the last time that I came and traveled for work. So I activated 2 the day before I left. So this was about 7 weeks ago. I threw one in my laptop bag and I threw one in my luggage, and I thought, let's just leave them and see what happens over the next little bit. And if you're not familiar with them, yes, you do have to have them connected to Bluetooth, because that's the idea, is that they connect through that. There are ways that you can set it up. So if, say, you lose a device, you can go onto your account and you can say, I've lost this. And then the community who else might use TrackR, if they come across it, it's going to report it back to you and tell you where it was found. So that's kind of a neat feature. Now, unfortunately, I haven't had a chance to really try that because I haven't really felt like taking one of these and putting them somewhere that I am just going to leave it and hope that people will not steal it. So I haven't done that yet, but I have had a couple of interesting things that I wanted to report on them. So number one, yes, they work with when you're within Bluetooth range. You're going to go ahead and see it pull up on your phone. And then if you want, you can just go and ring that. That is something that you can totally do with the device. You just go into the app, and what do you know? You just go ahead and start ringing it. So if you had it on your keys or whatever, that would be super handy when you lose your keys or your kids walk off with them like me, or maybe you just put them in something that you are moving quite regularly. Now, here's the kind of crummy thing about that. For those of you who weren't watching the video side of things, you probably didn't realize that I actually had the TrackR device held right up towards the microphone to get that. The audio was kind of low on it. I gotta say, I expected it to be a lot louder. If I'm trying to find it around the house, I want to be able to hear it kind of far away. I can say confidently that in my 2-story house, if I had it at the other end of the house, I probably wouldn't hear it because I probably would have left my keys somewhere. Maybe it was in a drawer or it was like under a piece of furniture. So I'd have to really walk around the house to try to hear it. The other thing that's pretty interesting for me to report back, and by interesting, I mean odd, is I've only had the batteries in there, and these batteries are changeable, but I've only had them activated for, like I said, 7 weeks. Well, on my phone, it is now showing that, I was trying to hold it up for the viewers, but you can actually see that on both of my devices, they are showing low batteries. So that means that if I leave it on, I basically have to, which of course you're going to want to leave it on because you're not going to anticipate losing your stuff, right? So you're going to have to leave it on.
I try not to.
Yeah. So I'm really looking at probably having to replace the batteries every 7-8 weeks. Now, I don't know. It might say low battery for a while longer. It might last me another 6 weeks for all I know, but it is reporting low battery. Now, here's the other thing. The Bluetooth range. Yes. It works fairly well. I did put one at the other end of my house and it showed up fine, and that was all good. But what I found interesting was both times that I traveled, and I wanted to wait to report on it till I traveled again. Both times that I traveled, once I checked my bag in, the Bluetooth disappeared shortly after. So whatever room they were taking it to obviously was far enough, like shielded, or not shielded, but just, I guess, killed the connection enough that it didn't really show up on my phone. Now, what you don't know is that when I travel from my city to where I traveling to, which is Vancouver, BC, I actually travel by a small little float plane. That's what I have been doing. So picture like 8 people on this tiny little plane, and the luggage actually goes into one of the floats. So you picture you've seen a small little float plane. They're not that big. When the bag is actually within the little float, the little metal float, there's no signal. No signal at all until they take it out. So that is enough. You're in a
Faraday cage, basically.
Must be, but that's enough, though, that it disappears. So it's kind of useless in the sense that if you get all of these interferences from like metal, so to speak, right? Like just metal, then you might just be standing in the wrong spot and not pick up the TrackR, and then you might be standing relatively close but not see it. So around the house, fairly practical, fairly useful. They aren't too big. If you're not watching the video side of things, they're about the size of, if you're Canadian, a loonie. If you've ever seen that, maybe a toonie. If you're not Canadian, that's too bad. You'll have to Google it. They're really not that big. or really not. Yeah, they're pretty small, not that big, and pretty perfect to attach to something like keys or something that you do move around. I could see myself grabbing a couple more of these if they were on sale, just to put on some other random important things that we do move around the house regularly. But as far as being used in like a major scenario where you are going to be in a noisy environment, and you, like, if you wanted to say throw it on your kid or whatever, so that if you're at like a fair or something, it's not going to help you at all, because you're not going to be able to hear it over top of the noise of a crowd. So it's kind of useless in that sense. But hey, it wasn't that expensive for me. I'll get some use out of it, but the battery thing is kind of crummy that it's not lasting that long. And the fact that Bluetooth is still not that strong of a signal is also kind of useless.
So if I put one in my refrigerator when it's running, I'll be able to find it.
Yes.
Actually,
yes,
probably not, because the metal in the fridge and whatnot's probably enough to kill that signal.
What if I put it on the refrigerator using a magnet?
Yeah, you might be okay then. Let's find out. Steven, go put that on the refrigerator in your room and let us know if it runs later.
Okay, sounds good. Should I do it right now?
Well, I mean, you don't have to do it right now, but you can do it after the show.
Have either of you had any interest in these little Bluetooth trackers? Because there's a whole bunch of them on the market.
I have, for keys and for, keys, no pun intended, key items. I just haven't pulled the trigger and gotten it. So yeah, is what it is. My attention is diverted elsewhere to things that actually work.
It really did open my eyes, though, because some of them are not replaceable batteries. And I remember the tracker being advertised for a longer period than 7 weeks. And so it really makes me think that if you are going to buy one, you probably want to buy one that is a replaceable battery, because the last thing you want is for it to die sooner than it's advertised, and then you're SOL and you got to go and replace it yourself and buy a new one. So, I would encourage people who are thinking about them to go ahead and get one that has a replaceable battery. Yeah, like I said, the TrackR app works okay. I've never had really any problems other than when the Bluetooth signal's gone. Chris, how about yourself? Any interest?
No. I don't need a bunch of random Bluetooth stuff turned on. There's enough security vulnerabilities with Bluetooth. Let's not make it worse. I'm not kidding. I mean, they found a big hole in Bluetooth security on the Android devices recently, and the advice was, if you're not using your Bluetooth, turn it off, because a lot of people leave their Bluetooth run all the time because they want to always hook into their car. They want to hook into their fitness trackers. Well, that's a vulnerability you're introducing there.
Yeah, but it's not really practical to shut it off all the time.
I keep mine off unless I'm using it. I don't want it to drain the battery.
I have to turn mine off every day when I go to work.
Well, doesn't mean that it's practical.
And you just build a Tasker script to do it for you when you're in a certain GPS radius.
I knew you were going to say Tasker. Which, by the way, SP, let me know how that Tasker works out for you.
Sure.
Anyways, I wanted to go ahead and report that because, like I said, this is the second trip that I've done with it, and I thought I had some data now some confirmed data, because I don't want to go report things willy-nilly out there being like, you know what, this is clearly the information because it's what I'm assuming that it's bandwidth. Oh, sorry, that's a whole other rant.
So you're assuming something just from the title and not reading the rest of the article. Is that what you're referring to?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. But
then
now
don't do that, people.
No. So anyways, I wanted to report that. And if you have questions about TrackR, because I know there are a lot of videos and stuff out there, and I honestly don't feel like the videos are reflective of my experience, please do get in touch with me. I'm happy to share my experience further. Before we wrap up, we'll go ahead and go around the table and plug or promote whatever we'd like to do. We'll start off with the SNASA director himself, Chris Farrell.
I'm the new SNASA director? Sweet.
Well, you're the SNASA director left on Earth.
Fair enough. I've got access to the Stargate. We're good. So I'd like to suggest everyone go to Cheyenne Mountain in Colorado for tours of a former SNASA facility. It's wonderful. You'll love it. But we didn't leave any of the good stuff behind. Except one thing. Maybe you can find it.
No, seriously, Chris, you got anything you want to plug or promote?
we'll just go with my typical standby here. Hey guys, we got a great network of shows. Just encourage you to head on over to gonnageek.com, click on the network button, and I guarantee you'll be able to find another new show to add to your lineup. There's some great quality content there.
Awesome. SP, do you have anything that you would like to plug or promote?
Yes, I would. I would like to plug or promote, or is it plug and promote, or is it promote and plug? Whatever.
No, you only get one. You only get one.
All right. Can I have multiple words in my one?
No.
Okay, so you're going to have to string this together into one word called Super Geeky Playdate. That's all one word. And recently launched episode 59 entitled Top 5 Soundtracks. Our good friend Max stops in, and by a weird coincidence, so does our arch nemesis Randy? We discuss Justice League, Star Wars, Black Panther, and all the best music. Once again, that's Super Geeky Playdate, episode 59, Top 5 Soundtracks, which you can find at getageek.com.
Awesome. And I just want to go ahead and, since Chris already plugged the network, I'm going to go ahead and continue on my random plugging of other things that I started last week. Hashtag Bring Back Tech News Weekly. Hashtag. But I'm going to go in and actually plug something that is not network related, but something that I think there are people listening that might be interested. If you're looking for good, solid microphone reviews and other gear reviews, you want to go ahead and check out, of course, the Gonna Geek Gear channel, which is www.geeks.link/GonnaGeekGear. We got a lot of good geeky gear reviews on there, including the Zoom L12 overview that I just published this past weekend. So check that out. That is the Gonna Geek Gear channel. Now you're going to see that it's pretty green because we're still trying to get lots of content up there. It still is a fairly new channel. So if you want to check out more stuff, this is the channel that has a whole awesome back catalog. It is called the Podcastage YouTube channel. One of the viewers that is in the chat right now named Andrew is the one that's behind that, and he's got a lot of really good stuff over there. So while we one day aspire to have as many reviews as Bandrew on Podcastage, we're not there yet, so we recognize that. So check out the Podcastage YouTube channel if you're into looking at podcast gear, because he's got a lot of good stuff there and he gives a lot of solid information. So there you go. See, I can promote outside the network. I can be more than self-serving.
Or can he?
Only took you 4 years.
I've been podcasting a lot longer than 4 years, and like I say, I've been self-serving from the beginning.
When did Gonna Geek start?
2001 in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So that is going to take us to the end of episode 212 of the official GonnaGeek.com show. I'm Stephen John Drew saying thanks to Stargate Pioneer and thanks to Chris for putting up with my rant.
I'm Chris Farrell, and I'm sad I'm not in the moon too.
And I'm Stargate Pioneer saying I'm going to run out and buy Microsoft stock.
Yeah, no comment. Bye.
See you guys next week. Bye.
Thanks for checking out another episode of the GonnaGeek.com show. If you enjoyed it, please give us a 5-star review in iTunes or a thumbs up on YouTube. We encourage you to send your feedback by email to show@GonnaGeek.com. You can find our entire archive at GonnaGeek.com/show. And while you're there, why not check out all of the other geeky content on the Gonna Geek Network? Want to chime into our live chat? Join us Mondays at 8:45 p.m. Eastern at www.geeks.live. The music heard on this show is by Kevin MacLeod of Incompetech.com. This show was produced and edited by Stephen John Drew of Gonna Geek Productions. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you again next week.